Welcome back to Data Dash, everybody. My name is Paul Sampson. Today is Friday, December 5th, 2025. And I apologize. I am having an issue with my camera. We were trying to stream to YouTube and to X at the same time. And I don't know what is the deal, but it wasn't allowing me to do so. So you get a little avatar of me today. But the main event here is Bitcoin anyway. So right on cue as we start, a nice dump here. Bitcoin. We'll just kind of go back into the week here, right, and kind of break down what was going on. We were just covering in Discord, actually, that behind the scenes in the order flow and things of that nature, it was showing a lot of negative delta, right, which is basically showcasing that sellers were coming in very aggressively here, and that in the short term here, we need to get back above the VWAP, which is this volume weighted average of price here for any kind of upside. So far, we've just rejected right off of it, and down we go, right? So at the moment, we're in a little bit of a tale of two NPOCs, okay, which is these two right here. Month open kind of held us up for a little bit, but otherwise, yeah, sellers are definitely in control here, getting a little weakness as we go into the weekend here. So we'll cover everything, break everything down. I think that the stock market was actually putting in a new all-time, or very close to it. The S&P was looking pretty high. It was like a Bitcoin down, S&P up type of day. But yeah, first week of December. Again, month open, week open was pretty much right here. So in that case, we're only seeing about a 1% drawdown here from where we were at the beginning of the week. And we'll cover all that here in a second, okay? Let's check the chat and see how everybody's doing. Hey. Roy, how are you? Diego, I don't think Nicholas is going to make it on this episode, but hopefully one day he and I will jump on one together. TVOC, exciting to see you. We'll pop ups there, see if that works. Oh, yeah, there we go. Hey, Roy, with the little showcase there. We got, again, TV looking at very exciting here. And yeah, so watching Bitcoin here kind of get a little dip. Again, this is a very short time frame here. So we'll kind of zoom out and take a peek at, what the overall view here is. All right. So, of course, we've gotten our pullback here from that 126,000, and looking back at just the main setup at hand right now. I've covered it quite a bit, and it is this to me. Now, there is two versions of this setup. This is what's called the AB equals CD. It's a harmonics. It's a sequence of Fibonacci's that puts this in place, very specific ratios, very specific targets at hand, and one of which is still the aggressive one that is very, very much on the table. All right. So it doesn't have to get met. We very well have come in. Let me take this off here. I've had this marked as the week of September 29th because that was when we were targeting for this to complete. It did so pretty much just a one weekly bar after on the 6th, and came down, met our first major target here, got a little bounce there. Secondary target is met. And so far, we've lost that and been back testing it on a weekly basis. Is really not a great sign as far as what we want to see. And as clear as day, the cleanest level we want to get back above is just that 93,000. All right. Until we do that, the most likely scenario is we come down for that TerraFlow. All right. So that's just something everybody has to be prepared for in the nearish future. And where that changes is at a reclaim of that $93,000 level. And then for more reasons than just this being the secondary area here. Again, this is our yearly open for this year. You can see very clearly how this level has been regarded as support and resistance pretty much for the entire year. All that good stuff. Thomas asks, is 81K next? 86, or this, this little 8, well, we'll zoom back into that. Again, on a higher time frame, we could very well be making our way down to that 81, and then TerraFlow there. But we're also just in a place where it's a big battle, right? And every few $1,000s, it skews everybody's viewpoint really aggressively. And we'll zoom in here a little bit more. We'll cover that weekly range, which we've now seen pretty much back-to-back moves. Last week when we were looking for, it was the turkey target. I don't know if I even still have that written on here, but last week we were looking for that 1K. It was right here, right? So on Thanksgiving, where we were looking for Bitcoin to come back up towards $91,000. It's because that was our weekly target last week. This week, our weekly targets were actually down below us here for one, and then for two, a monthly area back up in this region. Okay. And you've seen me probably cover that on the videos throughout the week, where for this one, for example, this was our range we were looking to. Started off at the high. We dumped it right down to the low. Now, the context was very key here because we didn't take the high of this first. So when we came down and snatched the low first, it was very likely we would just take it right back up to the high. Okay. It's exactly what we did. So we basically just knocked out everybody from the last week and a half here, as far as shorter term positions would go from the low side and the high side. Very common technical setup we see time and time again. And now we're just trading back within the range to kind of end the week here. So again, it really all comes down to $93,000. That is our big line in the sand. And zooming out even just daily wise, you can just see how important that area has been, right? But in the sense of this little local downtrend, I mean, we are putting in, potential here for a low, a high, higher low, higher high. Depends on where we're going to see this kind of come down to. Again, we're in a little bit of a battle of these two NPOCs, which are naked points of control. They're volume levels that are left behind from our previous sessions. Very likely to come back down to and get met, right? So it's just like inefficiencies in the chart. So this one has my attention at the moment, this 86.8, which is just a little bit down from where we are now. So we'll see how that kind of unfolds. And then again, as far as any type of upside, to where we could see any movement back up towards, even if we're just going to push back up towards like a gold pocket of this overall fall, which is like in the 100,000s again at all. 93K is that line in the sand. So far we're getting rejections from it. Okay. So we have to anticipate lower. Only time we can start looking really heavily back up is if 93K is reclaimed, and we want to see like dailies on that, especially. What's going on, Andrew? Yvette Nicholas is here and well. He'll actually be doing a video here in a couple Mondays. He just did a video on the channel, I think 2 Mondays ago, if you haven't seen that yet. We also cover our newsletter together that we'll be sending out today. He's got his dash report, but we do a weekly newsletter, Nicholas Merton and I, that actually will be going out today. If anybody's interested in checking that out, it's free. Once again, if you just sign up on our website for the newsletter at data-pro.com, you can keep up with Nick over there. All right. So that's pretty much Bitcoin in a nutshell. Very simple at the moment. Again, 93 is the level to beat. Potential here to come down just locally to that 86K level, just down below us here. And again, there was a lot of sellers coming in at this area here. And as long as we were below this yellow line or green line, whatever color it is, this is our VWAP. As long as we're below that, the likely scenario is more down here. So that's where we're at with that. We have Ethereum. Similar-ish volume level down below, but it was very close. And again, if Bitcoin's going to probably fall, tumble a little bit lower, I'm sure ETH is going to come with it. So far, we've gotten a pretty decent reaction out of this zone here, this like $2,500 to $2,800 level. And on top of that, we've had a new major upgrade to ETH. Only thing I don't love about big updates and upgrades like that is that when they do hit, especially after one like this, where we have, at the time, the sentiment for ETH was so low. This is back in May after this huge drop. And we went from like 4,000 to 1,400. And I don't even think anybody really was aware or could care less about like the Pectra update. But then when we got it, you get this huge burst right off of it. It just so happened that there was a major harmonic in play. We were actually looking for what was known as the stairs down and elevator up scenario, right? So the stairs down here, bullish harmonic overall completed in that region. Elevator targets 1 and 2, which we came into over here. And and that was just in the mix of that. But now when we look at just like sentiment wise and things along those lines, it's because of this last move here. I wonder if like people are just like gung ho and just assume that we're going to get up only right here. I will say that there's a very similar setup at hand than we just had. The only thing is here is, again, we're looking at Bitcoin kind of making a little tumble. So we could kind of root around in this region for a little bit before we see any kind of move up. That $4,000 has my attention though. And just very similar to the Ethereum stairs down and elevator up move, right? Kind of highlighting that stairs down and big move. I mean, we got almost the same setup going on right now too, right? Just kind of a slow bleed into this region. And then at the same time, we've got bullish butterfly right into that completion zone. Decent little reaction off of it so far. Back test, higher low, higher high so far. So little uptrend, potentially starting to form here. And in the sense of target areas, 34 is a big one, and then a major one back up at $4,000, which is also a untapped high time frame average from last month. This is live. Yes. Why do you say you're bad? Doing very good. How are you? Awesome. Just kind of run through the chat, folks. All right, let's take a peek at see how the stock market is looking today. Just peeking at gold. Gold's still kind of on a run here, right? Had that big move up, consolidate in this region, straight, just all gas, no brakes. Pulls back to a nice classic 382 region here, kind of consolidated yet again. I just put some trend lines on here just to make it simple. I'm not usually like looking that just that simply, but in this case, it was just really just hold this line of support, and we're looking, for any kind of a bounce higher. I will note that right above our highs here, it's like right at 4,400. There's a trend-based gold pocket or trend-based 1618, which is where I was targeting for this move to really run up to, and we front ran that just a little bit. So if we push up and take the high basically and get a another little pullback around there, just be aware that's kind of likely here. But otherwise, longer term, without just caring about a few percentage moves up and down for gold, that 4,600 is kind of glaring at us now again, as long as we're holding above that 39.76. Now, generally, folks, another thing to always kind of point out is when we see gold do moves like this, by the way, this is up over 100% since almost since 2 years, right? So since February 2024. Generally, the rule of thumb is when gold doubles, that ain't a good sign, right? So as far as the big picture. Now, the only thing about that is, to me, is that I feel like everyone and their mother is really, really waiting for a collapse in the markets, AI bubble to pop, all that stuff. I'm actually probably one of those people in a sense, because at the same time, even though I think that things could get a little bit higher from here, the time frame of 2026 to 2029 has been a really big landing zone of like caution to me for my own personal strategy, which has kept me relatively bullish through COVID, through 2023, through all the rate hikes, through all the high interest rates, all the high inflation. It's been the reasoning, the 18 to 20 year cycle theory that essentially ends around the end of this decade, which we're coming into now, right? We're on the back half of the 2020s, I guess you could say. But now that we're here, you kind of gauge the sentiment alone. I mean, everything's in extreme fear while markets are at all-time highs, which is quite an interesting piece. I don't, look at the SPX almost back up, like literally dollars away. It's just a different time, man. Honestly, I don't think any of us have gone through something like this in history, right? As long as, at least within like probably the last 100 years. So most people aren't alive from that time frame, but to see the market just so, I think everybody, Mark Moss, if you haven't checked him out, check him out. He makes such great content on all of all this stuff, right? And he points out things just like what I just pointed out a second ago, where like when gold doubles, it's not necessarily a great sign for the bigger picture, 12 months down the road or whatever. And it's like everybody's he makes a point to say that everybody fights the last war, or like something along those lines, basically stating that everybody is looking at the 2008 crash and thinking that that's where we're at, or the dot-com bubble and thinking that that's what we're about to get, or the Great Depression even, and thinks that, it's like everybody's like looking in, and essentially the last war in his terms would be that the 2008 financial crisis. So everybody's looking forward to that, right? Where it's like, oh, the market's going to crash. I'm going to finally buy my house. I'm going to finally, I don't know, enter the stock market or whatever the case is, looking for those huge crashes, right? And again, well, I think that that's something that is on the horizon here. I think that we're just still a little bit away from that. But yeah, it's definitely a cautionary time at the same. It's one of those periods where it's like, even if I'm expecting higher prices, to me, 2026 was always the year that I told myself that I'm not going to inject any new liquidity into the markets. That's where I'd actually look to scale out from longer term positions. And that's just personally. And it's not like I'm doing that right today, right this moment, but in this window of time, it's just where I'm on more of a defensive play now versus personally when it was like 2020 drops and 2023 and all those times where like everybody was very much expecting a crash then too. It's weird. It's a weird place we're in. GM, everyone, says offshore miner. Good morning to you. Do we see ETH to 2000? I mean, it could get there. I'm sure. The thing for me is, again, I'm at least while we're above 2,500 is a big area in my eyes. If we get down to it, like really just this box region, a lot of that comes down to what we've been trading in for this last year, right? So we've got our point of control. So our highest area of volume traded for basically this entire year of 2025 comes in right around 2,500. We've already came into that 26, 28. We've got a valid harmonic here, which isn't the end all be all by any means. I mean, we can get, come back down into these low areas and then jump out of it. As far as $2,000 goes, I mean, anything's possible, of course. For me, I'm a big ETH bull, so I mean, I would love to if it did. I don't want it to go there at this point, obviously, but if it gets back down to it, those are opportunities at hand. But currently, we're really holding a decent structure here, and same thing goes, right, where you have nice low, high, low, higher high. Compared to our most recent notable low, we still are putting in a higher low right here. So as far as structure would go, we're holding okay. Can get 25 and still be in a good spot there, but yeah, anything's possible, my friend. I'd say lose 2,500 and yeah, 2,000's on deck. But at the moment, we have a pretty bullish setup, and it's this one, right, that we were just talking on. If you just joined, I'll just kind of cover it again. So this is what's called the bullish butterfly. It is a sequence of Fibonacci's, okay, and it's got some specific target areas here. Pretty simple stuff, but it's areas where you can target off of specific, lows, right? So again, when this comes into this region, I'm looking for this. I'm getting, to me, it's where I'm looking for entries and stuff like that. While many might see this area as very scary because it was kind of right in the middle, right under 3K, right above 2,500. You might not find this area really, enticing at all. But yeah, this setup was there, and then also there's a major Fibonacci gold pocket there. So as long as we're holding above this region, I think that ETH, makes its way up towards 34, which is our first target area. And then overall of this setup, it's the other conservative play. It's not necessarily like it has to stop there, but there is decent resistance right here. So gold pocket area, high time frame average, harmonic target at that as well. So, I mean, if we run, and it's $4,000 even, basically. So it's a nice, what do you call it? The psychological level, right? Where everybody always gets wrapped up on, it's like, oh, ETH, you could see the headlines, right? Where ETH pushes back above 4K. And if we get a pullback from there, it's just something that I would look for. In 2026, do I think Bitcoin and ETH is going to see an all-time high? I actually do. Okay. And, I'm one of those people that are going to follow the information. So I'm not like overly married to that, like where it's like, man, bet your house on it. Or again, like I do acknowledge that 2020, that where we're at needs to be viewed with caution. But my higher time frame overall thesis has been that we are in the 18 to 20 year cycle here, and that crypto is making its first 18 to 20 year run alongside the housing market, business cycle, all that good stuff. And then another piece of that is that there's two major reasons I think that at least Ethereum is going to make the all-time high, which doesn't make sense that it would go by itself, but who knows, right? Is one is Bitcoin dominance. All right, so Bitcoin dominance, like literally all the way back to like 2017, multi-year range, big moves between it, right? This is, again, when I look for, like, we call it the stairs up or stairs down, whichever way we go. A lot of times you get one or the other, right? In the markets in general, you get those really slow moves down, and then it's like you get that huge burst up, and usually it's paired with some random news or whatever the case is. But it always occurs like that, okay? And I say always, it's likely thing to occur. Vice versa is stairs up, okay? Slow grind to the upside. Everybody's complacent, comfortable. This thing has been going up for so long, and then you get that huge elevator down, right? Which is more common than anything when we get elevators down, right? You get the bulls take the stairs and the bears take the elevator type thing. This is obviously a staircase up if you're looking at it in that viewpoint, but regardless, this is a range rotation. So huge range right here, got a little deviation. We dropped it back in, you back tested the high. So similar to when you're looking for anything, right? Like if you got a falling wedge or head and shoulders or basic support and resistance, when you get above it or fall below it and you get that nice back test, right? That's what you want to look for. And that's usually where we seek the continuation from. And so far, this is a weekly time frame, by the way, big time frame, folks. You're back in the range. October 10th liquidation event right there. Whoops. Overall, between the two, nice back test. And as long as we're living back within that 62% or lower, I anticipate that dominance is going to rotate this range yet again. Even if it doesn't come down to the lows, which is where our volume target is, right? So that's our natural area where this isn't price, but generally speaking, the asset seeks out that volume level. And even if we just pull back down to the middle area, back to these highs right here, back to this gold pocket right here, there's a lot of stuff right down there, about like 50%. I imagine we make our way down to that, again, weekly time frame here. Probably takes us through the year of 2026, maybe even a little into 2027. All right. And when Bitcoin dominance falls, that's when at least the altcoins are outperforming. And that doesn't mean that they have to go up. I mean, that just could mean that they're not going down as much, right? So to be fair, it's not just a guarantee that everything just shoots up from here. But that's a sign, or that signals to a period where, Bitcoin gets outperformed by the altcoins. Now, ETH BTC is also one of my major notes in this theory as well. So pair it again with the 20-year cycle idea, but also on top of that, humongous, valid, bullish reversal setup here. That again, from like 2019, you put in this, what many would look at it like an M top, a double top at the high, huge bullish harmonic setup that took 6 years to print. And we can assume it's going to take about 1.5 to 3 years to play out till target. And for me, the main target of this is, again, it's conservative. It doesn't have to stop there. It doesn't have to get there either. But this is what made me, again, really aggressive down here, noting that we were coming into this region. I was actually timing this to complete between December of 2025 and March of 2020. I'm sorry, December of 2024 to March of 2025. And again, high time frame. We ended up bottoming out just a few weeks later, and I targeted that from 2023. So again, it was really, really close within the window of time. This is when utilizing fib time, not just me just pulling random things out of my, where. But on top of that, looking at taking time frames as well. If we can see this print on that time frame, usually it takes us about 382 to a 0.5 in time. So that's why I'm getting this 1.5 to 3 years. Again, that's not a random piece. It's just that's how long usually these can take. Not a perfect science either, but that's where those numbers are coming from. That generally it takes about 38.2 to 50%, which is you're just pulling fibs, but in time base of something like this to unwind. Not overly married to it again. We've already pushed up really hard towards a main target area. This is the first target one. It front ran it a little bit. Did hit a high time frame average from last year, but so far really holding here, right? So pushed up, back tested here. I think this was like the 382, which is what we want to see, right? We want to see that 382 hold in continuation from. And overall, looking at this, I am looking for that ETH to outperform Bitcoin throughout the year of 2026 into December of next year. It's going to happen. Who knows? But that's just something I've been tracking for a very long time. So far, it's not really broken. So this is just, again, neutral, not overly bullish, not overly bearish here, just sticking to what I've been looking to for quite some time. So yeah, that's what I'm looking to there. So not only dominance, does it point to a downfall for the next, let's say 12 to 18 months, ETH BTC, which is obviously only ETH, not necessarily the overall altcoins. But if Ethereum ends up going up, I mean, the altcoins generally don't just like let it go without it, right? Like usually we'll see a rally as well. So that's what I'm looking to. Time frame of that is very interesting. What else was there? This is one thing that very much not married to at all, because it's not valid at all yet, right? This is like something I'm precursing to some degree. The only and the reason I say that is because this is like looking for this is a potential harmonic here that really wouldn't be valuable to me until we're here, because then you can work off like the target areas and look for certain things then. But if there's confluence around anticipating the completion of this, that's what I do try to look for ahead of time, so that also when if this was to complete, prepared for it to some degree. But this, again, it's not perfect. It's really not even giving me what I want to see here, which is getting back above that 7.8%. And this is the others dominance for anyone that's not aware. It's basically all of the altcoins excluding the top 10. So this is like everything, right? All the no ETH, no Solana, no XRP, no Cardano, whatever those top 10 are. Right? It's everything else. If we see this flip, that 7 point, and a bit, again, big time frame. This is 2021 to now, right? This is very large. But if we flip that 7.8%, we've got a potential runner right here for all the altcoins. And the time frame is just in line with as well that ETH BTC chart, that dominance chart, and it's all potentials right now. The dominance chart and the ETH BTC are very, in my opinion, they look pretty good as far as like validity would go. This one is kind of a stretch. I'll be honest. It's not something I'm overly confident in at the moment, but I'm waiting to see if we flip that 7.8, because if we do, then this is a very, very interesting setup to me too. And to be fair, folks, this is something that, like, if we did see this occur, this would probably be like this could be something where if we're ever going to see all the altcoins go to zero, it would be after this setup. This is like nail in the coffin, super bearish setup, like go to zero right after this type of thing. But before that, it could be stupid. And just looking back, right, if we were to get a similar rise, this is the last rise we had like that. Again, putting the caution out there, not overly married to this at all. It's not even remotely like what do you want to say? It's not even remotely like active at the moment yet. But if you get that flip of 7.8, it's like a little bit more of a green flag. And if we were to get that rise, this is 2021. This is the last major altcoin run, the real deal, altcoin season that everybody refers to at the moment, compared to that or 2017. So this is a big chart for me. Timing aligns. So we'll see. Again, just be tracking that throughout the rest of the time here. We got a little drop skurs here, right? All right, so Bitcoin's making its way down towards that 86. What do you think about Tom Lee hypothesis of 250? I don't I don't think that's yeah. It's a tough one. I don't think it's going to get 250 in that time frame. But and the only thing about Tom, here's my thing about news. I'm not a news guy, and I proudly state that more than anything. I will talk on the news because I know that people need to hear it. Um, and there are times where like things align well, but then there's just so many times where it's just the news just gets you in the wrong mindset. Somebody once said that an NEWS just stands for Northeast, West, South, because that's all the news gets you to do is just look everywhere, right? It's just like keeps your head on a swivel for no reason. And things like when Tom Lee, for example, like I've joined Paul Barron on his channel recently, and he points out how Tom Lee's been extremely correct, or whatever the case is. I don't necessarily know the full track record personally, but if he has, and then now he's coming out with like a very big prediction, kind of when markets are at highs, I feel like people fall in line with that really heavily, because it's like, oh, this guy said this and this and this, he's probably going to be right about that. Michael Burry has done that in the past, right, where he got that big move right, and then he got a lot of things wrong. I think, and the same thing with me. I mean, I'm the same way. I'm not going to get everything right. But when people come out and make like just a really big, bold, or at least even they get clipped. Even if Tom Lee was stating the same caution that I just said with like that others dominance, where it's like this could happen if this happens, but there's no guarantee of that, whatever. But if somebody comes back and clips me and says the others dominance is about to rip just like 2021, and if that circulates, you never know what's true in that sense. But I don't think Bitcoin's going to get to that 250. My targets for if we're holding and if we're going to breach about, again, 93K is like such a big level to get above. And if we're holding above, really, I'd love to not lose, our 2021 high again, really, is at 69K. But this whole like region right here, as long as we're pretty much above this, to me, going into 2026 and what have you, and obviously we're above that now. My targets are like 160 to potentially 200, but really that 160 mark is like a big one for me in Bitcoin. And in the flip side of that is that that's not much higher, right? And it's about actually a good 100% now from where we are now, I guess. Let's just pretend here. 70-ish, 80. Okay. That's a big move. All right, that's definitely a huge move. In past, when we've seen bigger moves like that out of Bitcoin, I think that some wouldn't be as excited about that, even though again that's an extremely sizable move if we were to get it. But during that time frame, if things align well right here, and looking at the ETH BTC chart and everything like that, I envision that it would probably be a little bit more skewed towards altcoins going into 2026. At least Ethereum, right? And that's the only chart that I can physically look at, the ETH BTC chart, that gives me a clear, like, high time frame setup. Everything else is just, it looks but they can look until they don't, right? So it's a hard one. Bull Runner, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Somebody's asking about Avalanche. We can look at that. Somebody said, what is the short to mid term Bitcoin prediction? Well, I'm not going to try to predict it, but short to midterm, meaning like a few weeks here, the rest of this year, I guess, right? A couple weeks at hand. I would say we're at least probably making our way down to this like $86,000 mark again. And it's got to really see how we do here. It's also Friday, right? So I always point this out, that Fridays are, it's a tough one, because you close one way on Friday and it's almost like an instant reversal on Monday. Okay. And what I mean by that is a lot of time, like right now we're having a pretty down day here. In theory, it's just kind of, higher lows, higher highs, all that good stuff. But we could very easily just reverse out of this as we come into Monday, because again, everyone's sentiment comes in over the weekend. Now, crypto and Bitcoin isn't closed necessarily. It'll continue to go. But if we just kind of coast around this lower area, for the next couple of days here, I think everybody will get, and I'm sure there's going to be some news event, right? That we're waiting with bated breath. Oh, actually, next week is the FOMC. So perfect example. Next Fed rate decision, I believe, is on Wednesday. So probably getting the old, markets are cautionary, whatever right now. Again, this is just so far at least, a pretty normal move to see here. And what I mean by that is, again, we were looking at this earlier today. Lots of sellers coming in right here under the VWAP, loss of monthly open. I mean, that was just the next likely thing to happen here. Okay. Again, we're just really rotating last week's range, which this week I'm sure we're not going to have much to work off of because we're just doing pretty much the same thing here. Actually, I take it back. However, there's 2 days left. So we'll break that down here in a second, right? So short-term stuff, I'll have a better idea on Monday is my better idea because I'll take a peek at what we're working on. But like this week, for example, we started off here. Likely that we rotated this range. We took out the low. 85,200 was our key level. You get back above. We run it back to the high. That's pretty much all we did here. Back in the range again. We've got a NPOC from 2 days ago. Volume's kind of lowered now. Again, now we're probably waiting on FOMC stuff to happen next week, if that's the news at the moment. But just looking at our new information here, just for this week, that again can be changed before we close out because we need to wait till Sunday, which I'll update everybody in the group for sure on Sunday night. But so far this is our new range right here, right? And look at where that NPOC comes in. So currently we're just really rotating our value area is what it comes down to. A lot of volume back at the high, which look at where it is. But just between these two, this is so funny, right? So volume target right at the range low. We've got the point of control for the overall week so far coming right in at that other point of control that we had from Monday or maybe yesterday, whatever it was. Doesn't really matter when we had them. It's just they're there until they basically get tagged. And so we'll be looking for something along those lines. But if I had to give like a short term, like next few days here, probably something along that where we just swing it right back around again and just really need to get above that 93K. Avalanche. Let's take a peek. I was recently looking at, like, again, there's just one key level that I would love to get above and stay above on Avalanche, and it just cannot do it. It's this one right here, 1466. Lose it, back test it, whatever happens down here. You get above it, okay, for a few days. You back test it as support here for a second, lose it again. Push above it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, hold it, lose it again. It's just not showing any great strength right here, right? So somebody just asked if Bitcoin goes to $70,000, what could Avalanche go to? Is it $7? And could be. It's the problem. Like the risk we take with altcoins is just, the risk is both ways, right? Because we have the most risk to upside as well. Because even just looking at Bitcoin right now, let's just say Bitcoin explodes to the upside because of its market cap these days and just everything around it. We're not going to see 200 and 300% just like short-term rallies, right? At this point, like to make multiples on Bitcoin, it's going to be years at a time, if that, right? The altcoins are, the only thing currently that is going to potentially offer you that upside, but they have the same risk to the downside. So you have to be really choosy on how you do things. And for me personally, I'm 90% Ethereum of my overall portfolio, and then 10% I dabble into other things that are going to have way more potential upside than ETH. Like I don't expect ETH to go to 100K, but I don't expect ETH to go to zero. Compared, it could, I don't know which way the market's going to go, but Avalanche or somebody mentioned Gala or some, all these other ones, like they have potential to see really quick bursts. And like we've seen already, right? Like just look back at this. This was August of last year. Pretty dead. You get this huge burst. You give it back up, unfortunately, but to me, it's really getting above that $15. Get back above $15. And when we're zooming out to the daily, you can see how small, like now the price action looks. It's not like it's, just melting. What is this? This is $8. This is where we wick down to. So, I mean, yeah, it's possible to go back to that $8 and $7 area for Avalanche. Just need to get some strength here. It's definitely in an oversold territory, right? So this is daily time frame. Well, we're not so oversold on a daily, but compared to where we were. And then just in general, obviously, just looking at it as simple price structure, you're below your most recent price action. So it's one of two things. You take a little risk down here, you risk it really dropping, falling out, or you wait for the flip of 15, get a little. Again, we flipped it twice and lost it again, so it's just the battle. But yeah, flip $15 like with some conviction, and I mean, there's upside for Avalanche. That's what I'd be looking for there. Altcoins are smoke and mirrors. Now, I will fully agree with that, right? So this is the thing. It's crazy to think, and even myself, I originally, when I first got into crypto, 2017, the main goal that we all really had, or at least myself, I had, was that you traded altcoins to make more Bitcoin, right? You couldn't even, buy and sell in dollars at a time. You had to buy in Bitcoin, or you traded it against Bitcoin. You had to literally do multipliers in your head of, I think it was eight Satoshis or 16 or whatever it was, to figure out even how much like the value of whatever you had was, because that was the only thing to do. And throughout the years, I think that, the major players really just, it's not even major players. It was just the years of like 2017 and 2021 when the altcoins really just outperformed Bitcoin as far as the multipliers go, even though Bitcoin obviously slowly grew. And then this recent one, there's definitely been winners compared, but Bitcoin overall would have been the safer play, right? Looking back, so many people they don't have any Bitcoin because they've been just trying to get those 10x and 100x and 50x. And then, they might lose it on one and they'll try it again. They'll try it again and they'll try it again. And instead of just purchasing a Bitcoin, I ended up going into Ethereum primarily, on the big drops, on the COVID lows, on the, before then too. It's not like I just, knew that the COVID lows were coming or anything like that. But ETH was the one I kind of chose. And realistically, ETH has outperformed Bitcoin since then. I know that a lot of people don't think about it because in the last few years, ETH has only went from 1,000 to 4,000 when Bitcoin went from 15 to, 120. But if we go back to COVID lows, ETH was like $89 and went to obviously 5,000, or even at today's level, ETH had a 50x versus Bitcoin's like 30x since like 2018. But recently, yes, Bitcoin's been the outperformer. But yeah, as far as somebody just said, I'm just on a rant, but somebody said altcoins are smoke and mirrors, and I 1000% agree that there's such a likeliness that most altcoins, and like, again, dating back to the beginning of this show where I was talking on 2026, 2029 is a place where caution is very warranted in the grand scheme of things. Again, I'm looking at the 18 to 20 year cycle here of all things. On top of that, we have 100-year cyclical event, anniversary of the Great Depression. There's 50-year cycles. There's 80-year cycles. Everything's converging in these next few years. And not saying things can't get a little higher, but it's just, I think that, if we're going to see a really huge collapse at some point, I do for sure, or I foresee the altcoins going to zero, all of them. I don't think really anything, and the only ones maybe that, for myself at least, that I'm going to be looking to if I'm going to position myself there is going to be something with an ETF, right? So again, I've hitched my wagon to Ethereum. There's no guarantee that even makes it through something, but I assume like regulations come through, or just, I don't know, the governments come through and they create their own crypto, and that's the only ones that are legal. Who knows what'll be the reason? But the Solana shitters and all that stuff, there's going to be a wash. There's just no way that these millions of projects survive. And that's just at least what I'm preparing for. Again, I don't know what's going to happen, but Bitcoin is the one that you really want to be. I think that Bitcoin is this depressions or this recession's gold. I refer to gold back in, again, 4 years before the 2008 collapse, gold received its ETF. All right. And then during the 2008 collapse, gold was the only thing that held its value, doubled its market cap between 2008 and 2012. fast forward, if my 20-year outline is anywhere remotely correct, 2028, 2027 is that next grand collapse time frame. And when did Bitcoin receive its ETF? 2024, which would potentially be 4 years before that. It's exactly 20 years after gold. And it's the exact market cap that gold was when gold got the ETF back then. So to me, I think that Bitcoin is going to be the one that many at least put a hedge into if anything's ever going to go down. So on any of these pullbacks here, I don't care if Bitcoin goes to like 30K. Like I personally will be very interested in scaling into it. At least that's just the risk I'm going to take. Again, we don't know what's going to really play out, but that's my major outlook here in the next few years. Technically, avalanches on the bear market. Yeah, no. And that's the thing too, right? Like everybody gets really fearful about a bear market because, and again, I get it. Like I've been through multiple of them, but we've also been through multiple bear markets. If you want to think about it like that, this like last 16 months since March of 2024, I guess 12 months ish, right? No, 16 almost. Yeah, like almost 2 years. Because we've seen these flash crashes that have taken the alts down like 90% multiple times this entire bull market, right? Not saying they can't go lower, but it's like, man, it's like they've just been ripping Band-Aids, right? This drop right here, one of them in this region, it was like literally March-ish, March, April. Slight pullback in Bitcoin, alts just 90% down, right? Then obviously we had the carry trade low, all that good stuff. Top right here, inauguration day. Not even on the overall drop, just on this first one right there. Alts down 90% again in February of this year. All right. Then we look at this drop. Alts dropped 90% in that drop before we even saw the Bitcoin drop. So the alts are just, I don't know, definitely not what they used to be, but we're also in an evolving market here. And again, with the whole idea of, and take it from me, folks, I am in, I take the risks with the altcoins too. I'm not saying that I'm to not take any risk there, because there's definitely opportunities. It's not throw a dart and get lucky like it was back in the day, or just everything is rising and you just pick the one that hasn't popped and it's like a guaranteed winner. Somebody asked about Zcash, by the way. Zcash was quite the move here, pretty much dead. Again, this is, I know that the privacy network and setting, whatever occurred here, but this is what I look for in a lot of things where, again, we don't know which one's going to take off, unfortunately, but when you see something just completely dead, it's like it's dead till it's not. And then you get these huge runs. 1618 target area, blow off top right to the high, $750, 60% down, right to an untapped monthly pivot. All right. So very, very much pointed out. This is a really great example where you just don't chase. You can't chase this, at least in a sense of risk, unless you just want to throw 10, 20, 30, whatever, some beer money at it and just be along for the ride. But looking back, of course, it's like, oh, if I would have got in on that pullback, or if I would have gotten in even at that high, we could have ran it up another few 100%. But if you got out on that high, you would have been down 40% almost immediately. Would you have held, right? That's always the question. Everybody always looks back at this stuff and is like, man, I should have bought, even if I bought at 290, it went up 100%. Thing with that is that if you bought here, went down 40% for a hot minute, you would have been shaking in your boots, and then it flips up 140%. Guess what? You still wouldn't have sold because you probably wanted more, right? You wanted to get a 3X, you wanted to get a 5X, whatever. It's the same emotions all the time. You got to be meticulous with these things. And for me, anytime I see stuff like, if I'm not in it, it's cool. I missed that one, right? Because I definitely don't want to be in the 60% drawdown camp when it comes. And just, having to deal with that, right? Not to say that everything else isn't in the same camp either. It's just, I just don't choose to chase stuff like that. But pretty much Zcash, I'm sure this is going to unwind for a bit. We saw a really, really big move. I doubt it's just going to continue up from here. What is that, like 15, almost a 14X in a month, September to November. So 2 months, almost 15X. This will probably slowly, maybe even fully round trip, but if anything, it's probably going to at least slowly just kind of coast around for a bit. Probably needs to unwind that for a minute. All right. It is coming up on noon, folks. Sorry, I just had a message come through. I was answering. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I just want to let you know that next week we're going to move our live stream to Wednesday. So it will be on Wednesdays going forward. So I think like the 10th next. That's actually FOMC day. So be sure to tune in with us on FOMC day. I don't think it'll be on the meeting, but it'll be around this time, 11 a.m. Eastern. So we'll be covering everything a few hours before that, kind of looking at the setups at hand. Again, just we'll be covering this in the group in the Discord, but more than likely we're probably just kind of ranging around here for now. We probably push back up next week. Yeah, we'll have some more information by the end of the week here. And then next week is a really big week there, folks, with the FOMC stuff. Just again, I really don't look to it as like the news driving the price or anything like that. It's just we do know for a fact that there's going to be volatility at an exact time, and that's usually pretty fun to be aware of. So unlike a random tweet from our president, at least we see this one coming. Yeah, hope you all have a great rest of your afternoon, morning, evening, wherever you're on this beautiful world. I'll see you all in the next video, folks. And until then,